back in the cinema car park. I'm going to make this brief for a few reasons. 1, it's cold. 2, it's late. 3, didn't really like the film. Although that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be brief. I could talk at length when I don't like something. I've also realised that I'm wearing my noisy coat, so I'm going to have to try and stay still. So I've been to see Bones and All this evening. This is a horror film / romance / road movie. It's based on a book, which I haven't read. Presumably the book was quite popular, otherwise it wouldn't have got optioned. We start with a young girl called Maren. She's 18, we're told. She lives with her dad, and it's just the two of them. It's apparent quite early doors that there's something a bit off about her, and at the very beginning of the film she sneaks out for a sleepover. This is after you've seen her dad lock her in her bedroom and you're thinking, that's quite weird. She sneaks out the window to go to her friend's house with 2 other girls who are sleeping over, and as they're lying there under the coffee table, bit weird, having a chat, 2 are sat on the sofa painting their nails. Maren and another girl are lying under the table having a chat, and then Maren takes the girl's hand, leans in and bites her finger and pulls the flesh clean off. Just a bit a sign of things to come. Obviously screaming ensues. She runs home to her dad and he says, right, 3 minutes and then we're in the car and we're gone. And you get the impression that this is not the first time they've had to do this. And the reason is because Maren is an eater. You know how in The Walking Dead they don't call them zombies, they call them walkers? Well, Bones and All calls these guys eaters. They're not vampires, but they're not far off. They're not cannibals by choice, but they are people who eat people. But there's definitely something odd and otherworldly about them, but not vampires. I'm sure they'd be very keen to point out they're not vampires. They're eaters. So eaters can go out in the daylight. Eaters can look in the mirror and have a reflection. Eaters can have a picture taken, in fact. So kind of weird that they're vampire-esque but not vampires, but a little bit supernatural. So Maren is clearly an eater. Her father is not. And they relocate, as they have done many, many times before when she hasn't been able to keep her hunger under control. She wakes in the morning, looks for her dad, and he's gone. This is not spoilers. This is literally the very beginning of the film. He's left her a cassette because it's set in 1988. Probably should have pointed that out. And some money, and he's gone because he says he can't help her anymore. And this sets her off on a trip that will take her to all manner of places across America. Every time she got to a new place, the 2 letters that represent the state she was in kept flashing up. But if you're from Denton Burn, you don't necessarily know all 50 states by their 2-letter ID. I got some of them, not all of them. I don't suppose it was relevant. It just showed that she was moving a lot. And in her first town she gets to, when she gets off her Greyhound bus and she has to wait till the morning for the next one, she meets Sully, played by Mark Rylance. I should have said Maren is played by a young actress called Taylor Russell. Mark Rylance turns up. He's also an eater. Not an eater. His name's not an eater. His name's Sully. He is a person who eats people. An eater. He turns up, clearly weird. I mean, just giving off the creepiest vibes. And I love Mark Rylance. He's the voice of the BFG in the more recent film version. He was also the voice of Flop on the first series of Bing, I believe. I'm doubting myself now, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And in this, he has a long grey plait, and a really creepy southern drawl. Really creepy. Just one of those voices and demeanours that just makes you want to peel your skin off and run away. I mean, he's meant to be creepy. He does a cracking job of it. He has this thing when he first meets Maren where he's basically sniffing her. He says he could smell her from 3 miles away, and this is a thing that eaters can do. They can smell each other. The face he makes when he's sniffing the air actually made me want to vomit, far more than some of the other scenes in the film where they're chowing down on people. That, just the look, the expression, and the sniff face the man made, not nice. So they meet, and I don't really want to say much else plot-wise, not about Sully. They meet, they spend an evening together, not like that, because he's vastly older than she is. They share a meal, if you know what I mean, and then the following morning she runs away. And in her next port of call, wherever that is, she meets Lee. And Lee is played by the much adored Timothy Chalamet, or Timothée Chalamet, as Mark Kermode and Simon Mayo call him. He's been very much one of those in vogue actors for the last few years. He was in Dune and other things. His appeal is lost on me because I'm 40 and he's 27, 28, although having said that, like, Harry Styles is around that age and his appeal definitely isn't lost on me, so maybe that's a stupid thing to say. I kind of got it a little bit in this film. He's got a weird dyed red curly mullet, but it kind of works for him. And you can see why Maren is drawn to him. They're drawn to each other. That thing of clinging to somebody who's like you, who's experienced trauma and loss the way you have. She's trying to track down her mother because she finally has information on her whereabouts. He goes with her. At its heart, at its beating heart, it's a romance. It's about those two finding each other, falling in love and learning to live on the edges of society, but with this sinister undercurrent of other eaters and Sully knocking about. Overall, I found it quite boring. I didn't like her particularly. I didn't think her performance was very good, and I don't know if that's how she was playing the character, but I just found her quite wooden, and I definitely didn't particularly care about her, and I think for this to work he needed to. He was all right. He was, you know, oddly handsome in that sort of boyish, scrawny way that Leonardo DiCaprio was handsome in Romeo and Juliet. I get that it's maybe that sort of vibe, and obviously that very much appealed to me back then. So he's all right. He's better than her. Mark Rylance is brilliant. Creepy. But yeah, it's quite slow. It's really slow and meandering. There's some lovely vistas of middle America that they're driving across. But yeah, mainly it just doesn't really go anywhere, ironically, as they go all over the place. And I just found that I didn't actually really care about their story or their love or their plight. So yeah, bit of a duffer for me. Obviously, always glad that I've taken the time to watch it. It is good to have my own opinion on rather than something I've read in a review. I've still managed to talk for nearly 10 minutes about a film I didn't like. It's all right, but I would be very happy never to see it again. Yeah, can't win them all, but another evening in the cinema to pass the time. And you know, all the time I'm in the cinema, I'm not in my house with appliances on, so I'm saving electricity. That's what I tell myself. Okay, well, thanks for listening. I'll be back soon. Katie out.